The DNA Coil is releasing from Storm on March 15th, and while the original DNA was fairly polarizing, this Pearl version seems to be more user-friendly, so let's take a look and see what we have. Tobias is on the Kegel Chromium Challenge pattern at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, where they always take great care of us. We use this pattern for testing because it's a good benchmark pattern. It's not too easy but not too tough, so it really helps us figure out where the balls fit and how they relate and compare to each other. The graph is linked in the description if you want to take a look at the details. His layout information is up on the screen for those that understand, and if you don't know what all the numbers mean or all the core numbers we're going to talk about next, I have a few instructional videos linked in the description that will teach you everything you need to know about cores, core dynamics, and layouts, but I still need to share the details for the more experienced viewers. Like I mentioned to open, the coil is a Pearl version of the original DNA. It's got the same EXO cover formula, which Storm claims is their strongest cover stock to date, but which no one saw in the DNA and no one is seeing in the coil either. Now that's not a big deal. It's kind of dumb that people tend to equate good with more hook and more back end. Something being stronger or weaker than it's supposed to be isn't an issue as long as you know where it fits. A lot of people, though, to begin with, heard strongest cover ever and saw the core numbers and thought that meant the DNA was going to be stronger than the gem, which wasn't a thing, and the coil definitely isn't in the same area code as the exotic either, to get that straight here too. It comes out of the box at the Reactogloss polish and it seems to be okay. I think again, it needs to be hit with a 3K or 4K pad just to break the shine. It's a little too clean and sharp, but the cover stayed dry and tacky on this one, so no issues there. The Supercoil core doesn't get the AI treatment for this one, but it doesn't really need it. It's 247 RG, 053 differential, and an 023 int diff, so this thing doesn't really need to get any stronger. It's a rolly, fast revving core with plenty of torque, but it's not heavy rolling like the core and the gem, so it doesn't really slow down much, if at all. The DNA didn't either. The result is something that's clean and sharp, but still pretty strong. Once again, Tobias moves a couple boards every shot or every other shot to show you a slower progression from left to right. Then when he runs out of room up against the ball return, he goes back to end up where he was most comfortable at. You saw from Strader that it was pretty playable. The original was too, just surprisingly clean and easy down the lane for the overall strength. No shortage of boom or friction response. It did check up early and quickly to the right if he got a little slow with his speed or caught it too much at the bottom. That's a bowling term that means revving it up more or getting it to spin faster at release. As he continues to move, he found the same tendency in this one that the DNA had. This core just seems like it doesn't want to get too deep on the lane, but it might be a cover thing too, I'm not quite sure there. The coil hits a pretty sharp cliff right around 4th arrow, and it's surprising that it's picking up and driving, and then all of a sudden it just starts missing the spot. One, he leaked right, of course, but he had to tighten his lineup quite a bit and keep it inside 9 or 10 at the break point, or it wasn't going to strike, so he didn't stay there too long. Going back to the surface, the hard factory shine is making it a little too inconsistent. It'd probably be fine at 3000 grit, and that would blend it out more and make it more stable without sacrificing much of the length or the shape. As he moves back right, it's just sensitive, and like I just mentioned, I think it's a surface thing and not a ball thing. Box surfaces are meant for looking pretty on the wall in the pro shop, not for performance, so don't be afraid to play with the surface. He has to play a little bit straighter line and avoid getting it closer to the gutter, but that's kind of a righty thing. Stuff gets weird outside of 5. Overall, it really looks like a reality check. It's got the same clean and sharp but directional shape. It definitely seems to be more of a normal ball reaction versus the DNA. Now again, my DNA was great, but not everyone shared that opinion. It seems like it was either really bad or really good with 0 in between. To help place it, we're going to look at the Virtual Energy Blackout for a comparison, since they are both shiny asymmetric pearls in Storm's premier line right now competing for attention. Right away the shapes are different, but they seem to be of very similar strength. Rounder, more continuous motion out of the Blackout, more of a hockey stick, checkmark, clean, defined, and directional look out of the coil. Now, directional really just means that it goes the direction that you roll it in. So if you get up the back of it, it's going to stop or roll forward. If you get around it, it's going to pick up and drive. More naturally continuous balls like the Blackout will still pick up and try to continue even when you do get more up the back of them. These balls are surprisingly similar, but the differences are also fairly clear if you know what to look for. The rounder shape makes the Blackout a little less sensitive. It's a little slower on friction, but just enough to blend the wet dry a little. It's still a pretty responsive ball. As Tobias moves, he doesn't hit that same wall when he gets deeper. The blackout just consistently picks up and gets the job done, really no matter where he's standing or where he throws it. The V-Bow, as it's been affectionately dubbed, has been very deservingly popular since it came out. I'm actually in the process of making the report card too, just FYI, and it's going to get a pretty good grade. I think there's a couple things that this comes down to. If you like the reality check and want a replacement, the coil is the obvious choice. If you like the original DNA and just want a cleaner and sharper version of it, coil. If rounder or more naturally continuous shapes generally don't work that great for you, but you still need a cleaner and strong shiny ASIM, coil again. However, I think the blackout wins on consistency and versatility. It's a little more stable and controllable, plus Tobias didn't really have to change anything as he moved with it. He had to slow the coil down and keep it closer to the pocket the deeper he got, but he was able to keep doing what he was doing with the blackout, and it kept picking up and driving. Length, friction response, and overall strength are virtually identical between the two. I think it really just comes down to picking the shape that you want, the place on the lane you like to play, etc. This should also help you place where the coil fits too. It's definitely cleaner and sharper than the exotic gem. It'd be a great ball down from the harsh reality as well because they're pretty similar shapes, so that's another angle. If you want a harsh reality complement and the Eternity isn't doing it for you, pick up a coil. The V-Bow, of course, is a ball sideways, and the Attention Star is going to be a ball down though because the cover on the Star is a fair bit weaker. The core helps it get extra work done, but I think you're going to notice the cover strength difference with more oil on the lanes. To be fair though, they're a little closer in reality than they're supposed to be. Then of course, once you get into the symmetric stuff, the Summit Peak and Sublime are also a step down, etc. Once again, March 15th is the release date for the DNA Coil, which is kind of releasing with the Optimum Idol. It got moved back to March 22nd though, if you haven't heard that yet. Down in the description is a link to Bowler's Mart that will get any of the balls featured in this video ordered for you. I do have to note that I do receive a 5% commission on all sales through the links, and of course don't forget my code ROSEDOLL10 to get 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.